Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Rajajaranjana Yasodanandana Rajajaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Rajajaranjana Yasodanandana Rajajaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Gaur Jai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo and Jai Gaur Hari Bo Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 8, Lord Nrsingadev slays the king of the demons, text number 51. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Charana Uchu Hare Tavangri Pankajam Bhava Parvagam Asritaha Yare Susadu Richayas Kaya Surya Samapitaha Sri Charana Uchu Hare Tavangri Pankajam Bhava Parvangam Asritaha Yare Susadu Richayas Tavya Surya Samanpitaha. Chant. Sri Charana Uchu. The inhabitants of the Charana planet said, Hare, O Lord, Tava, your Angri Pankajam, lotus feet, Bhava Aparvagam, the only shelter for becoming free from the contamination of material existence. Asritaha, sheltered at, yat, because, asa, this, sarukrit saya, stake in the hearts of the honest persons. Tavai, by your lordship, Asura, the demon, Hiranikashipu, Samapitaha, finished. Translation. The inhabitants of the Charana planet said, O Lord, because you have destroyed the demon Hiranikashipu, who was always a stake in the hearts of all honest men, we are now relieved, and we eternally take shelter of your lotus feet, which award the conditioned soul liberation from materialistic contamination. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in this transcendental form of Narahari, Nrisimhadev, is always ready to kill the demons, always create disturbances in the minds of honest devotees. To spread the Krishna conscious movement, devotees have to face many dangers and impediments all over the world. But a faithful servant who preaches with great devotion to the Lord must know that Lord Nrisimhadev is always his protector. Om Gyan Timirandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Vicharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya De Satarine Vancha Kalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Titanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the beautiful prayers are being offered by the Charanam, and they get right to the point where they explain that this demon, Hiranyakashipu, was like a disease causing so much distress to so many, as it says here, honest people. But he was causing distress to everyone, not just honest people. And so now he is killed by your mercy, then we are happy. It says that devotees become happy when demons get killed. Devotees are non-violent. Even if a devotee steps on an insect, they feel very unhappy. And they try to avoid killing any living entity, even a small, tiny little fly. But when demons get killed, the devotees are happy. But because demons are just made to give trouble to others. Srila Prabhupada, in 1972, he gave a lecture, and he was speaking about Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One verse from the third chapter of the first canto, Ete Chamsam Kalum Pumsam Krishnas Tu Bhagavan Swayam. As he was explaining that verse, he was saying, and this is Kali Yuga, and there are so many impediments to our execution of devotional service. And he said, and that the impediments are mostly caused by the demons. Because it says in the Bhagavad Gita, there are two types of living beings, Sura and Asura. Some people think that a demon is manufactured by some manufacturing process. But actually demons are born. They're born like that because there are planets where living entities who are of a demoniac nature live. These planets are below the earth, and they're innumerable. It's just like above the earth, there are planets with the saintly persons. Below the earth, there are planets that are demoniac. Not only in the lower planets, but just below the earth, they are surrounded by various kinds of demons. So Prabhupada used to say, well, as devotees, we have no fear of Maya. Maya is our friend, she said. He said, she always helps the devotee become more Krishna conscious. But because there are so many demons, there's so much trouble in the world, therefore Maya has to serve the demons. Therefore, it becomes difficult to spread Krishna consciousness because the demons are envious of the Supreme Lord. And they reject the Lord, and they do whatever they can to harass those who are saintly. I remember during the COVID lockdown we had, that people were not allowed to practice, at least in Western countries, their Krishna consciousness, their religion, outside of their churches. And even inside of their churches, they were restricted also. I remember one group of Christians were singing in public during that time, and they received a $10,000 fine for singing the glories of the Lord in public during that time. So the demons are always creating some impediments to the progress of real spiritual principles, or true spiritual principles. And Prabhupada, in describing as he said, this is Kali Yuga and the demons are many, but you should know that they're only increasing. So they will continue to increase as Kali Yuga goes on. But then he says, but don't worry, for devotees, they will cause some disturbance, but Krishna will always protect you. And then he gave the example of Prahlad Maharaj, how he was not only harassed, but he was tempted to be tortured by his demoniac father in so many ways. But his father couldn't do anything. And he was frustrated because the Lord gave him complete protection. Not even a hair on his body was harmed by his father's attempt to destroy him. And that's not some story in the scriptures. That is a reality. Rake Krishna More Ke, More Krishna Rake Ke. If Krishna wants to give protection, no one can do anything otherwise. No matter who you are, no matter how powerful you are, no matter how big your armies are. If Krishna gives protection, that protection is complete. And if Krishna wants to not give protection, no one can give protection. No one is qualified except Krishna to give protection. And so, devotees have nothing to worry. And then he also cited how Devaki was harassed so much by Kamsan while she was in the prison cell. He was killing all of her children. And at one point, he was going to kill her at the beginning because he had learned that she was going to deliver the cause of his death in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was actually ready to kill his own sister. Prabhupada would say, the demons, they will do anything. They will do anything. And we have the examples. They'll kill their father, mother, anybody, it doesn't matter. As long as if it interferes with their sense gratification. So the world today is filled with demons, but of course the Sankirtan movement is there. The demons are increasing and the Vaishnavas are increasing. The people in the middle who are neither one, they're becoming less. The middle road used to be the main. There would be a small amount of demons and small amount of Vaishnavas. Now Vaishnavas are increasing, demons are increasing, and the middle is becoming less and less and less. And that'll continue as Kali Yuga continues to go on. But Prabhupada said, don't worry, Krishna will always protect you. There's one story where in 72, there was a war in Bangladesh, 1972. Prabhupada was in India at the time, and he had sent 2 sannyasis to preach in Bangladesh during that time. And it was really dangerous for them to go, but they went. And then the war was increasing, and the Islamic army was becoming more victorious. And it became dangerous for anyone who would be inside Bangladesh if they were anything connected with anything Hindu. So there were 2 sannyasis who had been asked by Prabhupada to go preach there. But then Prabhupada reconsidered and tried to bring them back when he heard about how the war was escalating. But there was no communication at that time because everything broke down because of the war. And Prabhupada was worried about them, and he was also praying for them. And while they were there, people were telling them, you better go, it's dangerous. So they decided to leave. And the Islamic Army were providing transportation for people who wanted to leave the country at the time. You could get on a bus and you could leave. But they would always check the buses to see who was on the buses before they were leaving. And if they find somebody who was Hindu, they would kill him. So these two sadhus were on the bus, and they stopped the bus, they recognized them, they pulled them off the bus, and they put them in front of a firing squad, these two sannyasis. One was Brahmananda, and the other one was, I think it was his brother Gargamuni, or it might have been Pushta Krishna, I'm not sure which one. And they're standing there, and the Islamic army is ready to, execute them. So Brahmananda picks up his beads and he starts waving it in the air and saying, hey, we're going back home to Godhead, we're going back to Godhead. And he's just like chanting really loud. And then the other sannyasi started to do the same thing. And that just, all of a sudden, the Islamic army got bewildered. The leader came out and said, get out of here, get back on the bus and go. They let him go. Because they were fearless, and they were simply chanting the holy names of the Lord. So if one is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, also one is fully protected by Krishna. Here it says that devotees have to face so many dangers in preaching Krishna consciousness. And it's a fact. There have been so many devotees who have been at the verge of being killed in many of their attempts to preach Krishna consciousness. Just like during the Ukraine war, there was one devotee who was captured by the Russian army, and now he was being held. He was one of the leaders of the devotees in Ukraine at the time. So one executor came with a gun and put a gun to his head, and he was about to kill him. But then one of his friends came over and said, hey, don't waste your bullet on that. There's some girls over there. So they decided to go attack the girls instead. And this devotee was praying to Radharani when that was happening. And by Radharani's grace, he became saved, and later on he escaped and got away. So Krishna is always there to help his devotees. Of course, we should try to avoid dangerous situations, but sometimes it's unavoidable, and therefore devotees have to preach in certain places that it's really, really dangerous. But devotees are always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as it says here. Bahir Nishringo, Hridaye Nishringo, that Lord Nishringadev is glorified in this section here. But that verse from the prayers of Lord Nishringadev, he's inside, he's outside. He's everywhere. And there are many incidents where devotees have been saved by Lord Nishringadev, where he personally came to actually protect the devotees. And devotees actually saw Nishringadev when he came. So, to preach means to take a risk, especially in Kali Yuga, as Prabhupada would say. People are not interested so much in spiritual life, and if they're interested in spiritual life, they're interested in what material benefit they can get out of worshiping the Supreme Lord. They worship the Supreme Lord in order to increase or to protect themselves from material dangers or to get some material benefits. This is why people worship the Supreme Lord in this age. So it's difficult to preach in this age. As Prabhupada used to say, to make one person a devotee you have to give up 300 gallons of blood. It's not easy. To bring people into Krishna consciousness is not hard, but to make them a devotee, that's another thing. That's another thing. And so it's difficult in this age, and there's so many impediments. You might say it's a thankless task, but it says that one who undergoes difficulty in order to preach Krishna consciousness, it's mentioned how Lord Shiva, and it's mentioned in the 8th canto, during the churning of the milk ocean, where the poison first, Kalahuta, what was it called? Kalakuta. Very powerful, deadly poison. And it was just coming out when they were first churning the milk ocean. And that poison was so powerful it could destroy the whole universe. And they were worried, what can we do? And then they understood only one person could save them, and that was Lord Shiva. So he came, and he drank that poison. Of course, Parvati was there, and she held his neck so it wouldn't go down. Therefore, he's called Kalakanta. He has a blue mark or a black mark on his leg, Nilakanta, Kalakanta. And in that description, it describes that one who undergoes suffering in order to preach or to show compassion to the fallen conditioned soul, that's the highest form to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, particularly in this age. So this is our mission. We're not a movement where we are simply happy to have Krishna consciousness for our own. Prabhupada said you become Krishna conscious, or at least you practice Krishna consciousness, you think, I don't care about anyone else, I'm fine. No. Prabhupada says, now you have to do something to show that the appreciation of the mercy you have been given, and that means to line oneself with Lord Chaitanya's mission, and to do something to connect with the process of outreach or preaching to bring the conditioned souls in, because this is why Lord Chaitanya has come. He describes that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where he says, I have this storehouse, it's full of fruit, and this fruit is the fruit of love of God, and this fruit is very sweet, and I'm tasting this fruit, and it's very tasty, and I want to distribute this fruits to everyone, but who am I? I'm only one person. So please come and help me taste these nice fruits yourself, and also distribute this fruit to others. So he's also asking us personally to take that opportunity. Of course, devotees are doing that, but it's a thankless task. It's a thankless task because people don't want it, but still, Prabhupada talks about how the doctor has to give the medicine to the patient, and the medicine may not be very nice, but the doctor knows what he has to do, and still, even though the patient doesn't want the medicine, he delivers it anyway. So this is Kali Yuga. And there are many examples. And Lord Nrsingadev plays a very big part in spreading Krishna consciousness. Not only does he protect the devotees, as it says here, but he clears the way for the preaching of Lord Chaitanya's mission. If it wasn't for the presence of Lord Nrsingadev, we wouldn't be able to preach in this age. He's making Lord Chaitanya's movement successful by clearing out the obstacles that block our attempts to reach the conditioned souls, and to actually create an environment where people can come and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Nrsingadev, he is very personal and very kind to his devotees. Bahir Nishringo, Hridaye Nishrigo. What is that? Namaste Narashringaya Palad Palad Anayate Hiranyakashipu Srilatam Kam Makanaye Bahir Nish. What is it? What is the next line? What is Ito Nishringo Ito Nishringo Hridaye Nishringo, isn't it? He says, in this one, there's one verse in this section of the Bhagavatam, what it says, that one should pray like that wherever I go, Lord Nrsingadeva is there. He's always there. He's inside, he's outside, and he's always there to protect his devotees. He never fails in his service. So devotees have nothing to fear. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Personality, Godhead, and devotion, and makes this practice of Krishna consciousness available to the conditioned souls. Because the world, especially today, if those of you who take a little bit of outside information, you know, things in the world are getting worse and worse and worse. And we're on the verge of a political, economic, social breakdown in society. Governments are failing, people are scrambling, and there's wars going on in different places around the world. And some people and some astrologers are saying that soon there will be a major war. But devotees are not worried about that. We're worried about the conditioned souls who are being so much subjected to all of this, what we say, harassment by the external energy in the form of the demons, who just create so many disturbances for everyone, that they want to do something in order to relieve. Because this is one of the principles. Prabhupada said there's two kinds of devotees. The devotees who are satisfied with their own Krishna consciousness, and those who are not satisfied unless they can make others Krishna conscious. So Srila Prabhupada came to do that work, and he was very successful, and he created an army of devotees to carry on his mission. And now that army is also creating a bigger army amongst through their preaching. And so Krishna consciousness is spreading just simply by one person who had a strong desire. And when we read the life of Srila Prabhupada, we see how many difficulties he had to undergo. It says that 100 different men would have gave up if they had been subjected to what Prabhupada had to go through in order to preach Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada, he also said, I had to walk through fire. I didn't look left, I didn't look right, I looked straight ahead. I had to walk through fire to spread this movement. So he even admitted it wasn't easy, it was difficult. And of course, we also see there were difficulties within the society too, to train and to educate the devotees so they could take on the responsibility of preaching Krishna consciousness. That wasn't easy either. But Prabhupada did something that I think is one of a kind. I don't think anyone can do what Prabhupada did in such a short time. Spread Krishna consciousness throughout most of the world in many major countries within 11 short years. And now he wants, and Prabhupada told us before he left, he said, I have established something, now you fill it in. You fill it in. I have given you the framework, now you fill it in. And he said also, please, even if you can't increase it, don't destroy what I started. He's also chastising us because he knows sometimes we act in a way that is not in line with his instructions or his guidance, and we can also create what we say reverses and the success that was there already implanted. So this is a very inspiring verse here in purport, that to spread Krishna consciousness, devotees have to face many dangers all the world. But a faithful preacher who has devotion and continues in that way must know that within their heart, Lord Nrsingadeva is always their protector. So we have nothing to fear in terms of the external energy. Prabhupada said devotees are fearless in the sense, but they have a little bit of fear. What is that fear? The fear to fall back into Maya themselves by acting in a way that brings about some activity that is contrary to devotional. In other words, devotees are not afraid of material energy, but they're afraid of getting contaminated by that energy, so they're very careful what to satatam kirtayantam mam, to always remember Krishna. This is the foundation for success in bhakti. Even for people who don't practice what we say fully, if they remember Krishna, they're protected by Krishna. Krishna is there in the hearts and minds and in his own remembrance. Remembering Krishna is none different than associating with Krishna directly. And the intensity of that remembrance brings about the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And if we get absorbed in remembering Krishna, then you're no longer in this material world anymore. And your consciousness is in the spiritual world. So we have a lot of mercy given to us, and therefore the devotees can always act in a very determined way to... I remember I was with Bhakti Charu Swami back in 2001. And we were in Chicago together, and it was that same day when supposedly these planes crashed into the Twin Towers in New York City. And when that happened, everything changed in the United States. Many flights were canceled, and other flights were doing emergency flying. Things were tense. So I was with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and we both had to travel right after that out of Chicago. So I said to Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, I said, Maharaj, I don't think it's a good time to travel. He looked at me, and I still can remember that look. He looked at me very strongly. He says, a coward dies 1,000 deaths, a hero dies once. And then I got the message. And the next day he was out and traveling. I stayed a few days. And then I went. But, he was fearless. He was completely fearless, knowing that Krishna is always there. And he showed by example. He preached Krishna consciousness all over the world, following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. So, to take up Krishna consciousness means to take up the mission of Lord Chaitanya and to find ways to connect with that mission and bring the conditioned souls back to the lotus feet of the Lord and make them, what we say, happy. People are not happy, and they can only be happy by Krishna consciousness. There's no material formula for happiness. Happiness doesn't simply come by, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the objects of the senses are not the source of happiness. They're simply sources of misery. So people think by contacting the objects of the senses they can enjoy something. But Bhagavad Gita says no, they lead simply to misery. So real happiness is transcendental happiness that comes by way of connecting with devotee, the Lord. And the supreme form of happiness is to bring other conditioned souls to the lotus feet of the Lord. That pleases the Lord very much, and the devotees become very glorious in their service. So, and Lord Nrsingadev is there, and he's always ready to protect his devotees. He says that just like a lion is very kind to its cubs, its own children, but the lion is fierce to other animals. So in the same way, Nrsingadev is terror to the demons and to the materialistic non-devotees. But to the devotees, I remember I had a picture of Lord Nrsingadev from Mayapur, Ugra Nrsinga. So I was at my house, and my mother was there. And my mother, she liked cats. She liked cats. When I grew up, she always had cats in the house. She didn't like dogs, only cats. So I showed her a picture of Lord Nrsingadev, and I said, this is the deity we worship in Sridham Mayapur, in our place in India. She looked at the picture of Nrsingadev, and then she said, oh, he's very cute. Can you imagine calling Lord Nrsingadev cute? Hare Krishna. I mean, that's some special, vision. And I looked, I didn't see the same cuteness that she saw, but anyway. So I was thinking, she has some interesting vision. Very big cat. She liked him. She also came to New Vrindavan a couple of times. So we don't have anything to worry about. Just preach Krishna consciousness and Lord Nrsingadev is there. And not only does he protect you, but he eliminates all the obstacles that you may encounter when you have to endeavor to make arrangements to preach. He's removing the blocks, destroying the impediments, and protecting the devotees. Okay, so there's so much we can speak about on this subject, but we'll stop here and see if there's any questions or comments. Yes, Adi Keshava Prabhu.
Thank you very much, His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj, for your deep insight into this Leela, especially about Lord Nrsingadev protecting us. My question is, during your class you said...
Can you move it down a little? Yeah, it's a little echoey.
You can...
Yeah, just move it away a little. Yeah.
Maharaj,
like
can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
So in your class you said that you can't avoid the material energy. We have to face it.
Can't avoid the...
Material energy is there.
Yeah, it's surrounding us.
But same time you said we should be very cautious that we should not get contaminated.
Yeah.
So my question is, one is how do we avoid that? And how do we know that we are contaminated? And it is possible that we are contaminated, but it appears like devotional service.
If you're engaged in devotional service, body, mind, and words, you're free from the effects of the material energy and you're not getting contaminated. But material energy is so subtle that a little deviation away from Krishna, as it says, Krishna, if you look forward, you'll see Krishna. If you look to the right, left, up, down, back, and anywhere, there's Maya. So keep your focus on Krishna and devotional service. It says in the Padma Purana that what is the greatest, it's a rhetorical statement, what is the greatest mistake, what is the greatest anomaly, what is the greatest misfortune? Anomaly, mistake, and then it answers its own question. The greatest mistake, anomaly, misfortune is to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead for one moment. And that's from Padma Purana. So when we forget Krishna, you should know at any time Maya can attract you, attack you, and you may also be subject to the influence of Maya. So we always have to be connected somehow with the spiritual energy, and the easiest and most direct way is to remember Krishna by chanting the holy name. Or of course, if you're engaged in devotional service, your mind's focused on devotional service. But the mind If it's not engaged, it'll start drifting to something material. Because the mind likes to enjoy, and it looks for opportunities to enjoy. So you have to be very, as it says, one has to watch the mind. As one, after capturing a wild animal, the hunter now has to keep that wild animal from escaping again. So he watches that animal very carefully. So in the same way, once we control the mind, we have to be very careful not to allow that mind to move away from Krishna again, in some form or another. But the mind is chanchala. Chanchala himana Krishna pramati balabhadradha. Arjuna says, you're asking me to control the mind, Krishna. I think you're asking me to control the wind. And Krishna says, yeah, it's very difficult, no doubt. But he says, avyasena tu kunte vairagya chigriyate, that by constant practice and detachment from material activity, one can gradually bring the mind under control. So yeah, Maya is everywhere. Of course, when you're in the environment, the spiritual environment, Maya tries to sneak in, not directly, but in a less direct way, by nonsense talk. When we get into Bala and talk about nonsense, and she grabs us. So that's one of the ways within the society of devotees that Maya comes in. We get involved in things that have no relevancy to devotional life, or even to practical understanding. So the formula is, don't worry about what's there, just focus on Krishna. That's all. Keep your consciousness on Krishna somehow. What is it? Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna divesaya. Somehow or other, whatever you do, think of Krishna. Remember Krishna. Chant Krishna's name. And Prabhupada said, you have to think about something. He's kind of like begging the question. He said, you have to think. So why not think about Krishna? The mind has to be active in some way. Even on the subtle level, when we're sleeping, the mind is also active. Although we may not be aware of it, in deep sleep, the mind is still moving. But in dreaming, we understand there is some experience in the dream state. And in the waking state, it becomes continuous. So yeah, keep that mind connected. And we can do it. You have to control your own mind. No one's going to do it for you. People will try to disturb your mind. That's there. That's also there. Others will not try to, but automatically, simply by circumstance, you might find yourself engaged in something that has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. Then you start checking yourself, what am I doing, This is nonsense. You're driving in the car and you're looking out on the road and you see these, what they call hoardings, advertisement. You start reading it and you think, what am I reading that nonsense for? And you catch yourself, because devotees know what's right and what's not right, And the more you control the mind, the more easier Krishna consciousness is. The more you give free rein to your mind, the difficult it is to practice Krishna consciousness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what does it say? Padam padam ya vipadam. Danger at every step, material energy. And that danger is not just physical danger, it's subtle danger also. Contamination of consciousness. Is that all right? Anyone else? Sure.
Behalf of the students here, today we have the students sitting here for your class. So they express many times, they say, chanting is very boring.
Well, sing. If you can't chant, sing the Hare Krishna mantra. It's more fun. Yeah. Singing is more fun than speaking, right? It lifts up the spirit. Okay? Chanting is boring to you? Sing. You don't need any instruments to sing, you can sing. Ladies like to sing more than men, right? Because ladies sing, they like to express their feminine charms through singing. I was with some devotees the other day, and it was a group of ladies there, and they started to sing some bhajan. It was so nice. We didn't have any instruments. We had one. We had a tabla. That was the only instrument we had. One boy was playing tabla. He was about 8 years old. No, he was about 10 years old playing tabla. And the ladies were singing. It was so nice. There was no instruments, just the tabla. And it was so nice just to hear the ladies singing. It was so sweet. They were singing bhajan. Yes, we struggle with japa because to sit down and focus on japa, it's maybe a little difficult, maybe even seems like you would rather do something else. But if you practice chanting, you can become good at it, or you become expert after some time, and then you start to really like chanting. So you just have to go through that stage. All right, it's a little difficult. I'd rather do something else, but I know this is good for my spiritual life. It'll help me, it'll protect me. Krishna is happy if I chant, so let me do it. Just to please Krishna. Krishna is pleased, then you're pleased. Sometimes we say, how do we know that Krishna is pleased? That question was asked to Prabhupada. He said, because you're part of Krishna, if you please Krishna, you'll become pleased automatically. And how Krishna is pleased by bhakti, but when you chant his name, Lord Chaitanya becomes very pleased. If you serve another devotee, Krishna becomes very pleased. Okay, we're just about at 9 o'clock. Anything else? Any challenging questions out there? No challenging questions. Okay. All right, thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Lord Nrsingadev ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj ki Hare Krishna.